Well, welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. So Hideki Matsuyama had not won on the PGA Tour since August of 2017. But yesterday, history became a thing of the past as he slipped on the green jacket, won his first major. He also became the first Japanese men's golfer to win the Masters and to win any major championship. Now, Hideki wins the Masters 10 years after he claimed the low amateur trophy at the 2011 Masters. He was then 19 years old. He is the 7th player to do so, the first since Sergio Garcia. Let's welcome in our golf expert, Chip Patterson, to recap the 2021 Masters. Take a look at what is ahead next in the world of golf. Chip, let's talk about Hideki Matsuyama, his first major, his first tournament win in nearly 4 years, jumps to 14 in the world golf rankings. And you know, on Masters Sunday, we all really want that drama. It was a couple times it was there, but other than that, he really didn't allow for it.
Yeah, he did shoot about what we expect. Now, of all the times in Masters history, someone has had a 54-hole lead of 4 strokes or more. Their average score is 72.6. So for him to check in at 73 on Sunday, that's about what we see. And what can you expect, right? With all the tension, with all the pressure that comes with being the 54-hole leader, of being one of those last groups or the last group on Masters Sunday, it is only natural that there's going to be a few times where adrenaline takes over. And yes, that approach into the green might be fired about 5, maybe 10 to 15 feet longer than you expected. I do think that's what we saw. But I look at Hideki Matsuyama, as we often see with Masters champions, is the stretch where they won wasn't necessarily on Sunday. The stretch where Hideki Matsuyama won was on Saturday, where he absolutely played at a blistering pace, gained nearly 2 strokes against the field with his putter, part of his game that we had really looked at as a weakness. And what a great return to the top, because you mentioned 2 things there, Amanda. You mentioned number 1, the time since his last win, and number 2, that he now is up to number 14 in the world golf rankings. He was up to number 2 in the world back in 2017, and his stretch of golf from 2015 to 2017 really had us looking at him thinking that a Masters or a major championship win was a matter of when and not if. And so I think that for him to be able to go through what we've seen with so many golfers, the ups and downs of a career, you battle with some injury issues, you kind of work your way back. He's always lived a little bit of a private life, but our own Kyle Porter, citing a source at Augusta National, really detailed how much pressure Hideki Matsuyama puts on himself and the high standard he has for himself. I think he knew that he could always win a major championship, and after getting so close a few years ago, to come all the way back and get it done here at the Masters is really, really cool to see.
Chip, the guy who finished 1 stroke back of him, 24-year-old rookie Will Zalatoris. I will say at the beginning of the Masters, some people, we had to look up how to say his name, make sure we were saying it correctly. By the end of it, not necessarily a household name. We all know how to say it. He put together 4 fantastic rounds.
Yeah, 4 rounds, all under par, all in red numbers. And I mean, just the confidence is oozing with this guy. 24-year-old superstar at Wake Forest, ACC Player of the Year back in 2017. And actually, when he was in college, he got a chance to play Augusta National. Now, he didn't play it in Masters settings with Masters pins, but he did have a little bit more course experience than we have with most Masters debutantes. And so the thing that we're looking at with Will Zalatoris is that he is just an absolutely elite ball striker. He was flushing it all weekend, but the intangibles, the confidence that he had with so many of these long putts on greens that were confounding so many of the world's best golfers. I mean, he was rolling it in from 9, 10, 11 feet. How about that long par putt on the 18th green to be able to really put the pressure on Hideki Matsuyama to be able to keep him right there at 9 under. Now, this is a conversation that we had all through the weekend where we are buying up all of the Will Zalatoris stock while also understanding that it might take a while before it really pays off in a major championship. But it's not often that we see someone flash at the Masters and then totally fizzle away, because it is a tournament that really brings out the best and always rewards a worthy winner. I think that we are only beginning to see Will Zalatoris be a real factor on the PGA Tour.
Jordan Spieth, he did not win, but this does feel like a victory for him. He had a smile on his face after his last round, finishes T3. This come, of course, after his win at the Valero last weekend. I would like to point out it's about a month and a half before the PGA Championship. That is what Jordan needs to complete his career Grand Slam. But Chip, we always say after somebody has struggled for a long time, blank and blank is back. Is Jordan Spieth back?
Jordan Spieth is back, and you go back and you look at his week around Augusta National. You point to the triple bogey, you point to the double bogey, you look at the final margin and how close he was to winning this thing, and you're like, Jordan, if those could have just been pars. But that is the Spieth experience, okay? If you're gonna get the chip in for birdie, if you're gonna get him somehow saving par out of the middle of the woods, then you're also gonna get a triple bogey and you're also gonna get a double bogey. But he was in total control of his talents. I think his proximity to the winner indicates where he is in terms of his own game. And as we start to spin it forward, Amanda, I saw you pointed out on Twitter this morning, I mean, that is the storyline at the PGA Championship, is whether Jordan Spieth can complete the career Grand Slam, because the last piece that he needs and the list of golfers who've accomplished the career Grand Slam, I mean, it is just such an exclusive list of golf greats. We always imagined that the golfer that we called the boy wonder, almost a half decade ago, as he was really starting to make his emergence and win those first major championships, win that first or win his only Masters green jacket. I think that for him going into the PGA Championship, number one storyline on my mind, it is a win for him. Jordan Spieth is back, and I cannot wait to see him continue what I think is going to be this really strong form all throughout the summer.
The PGA Championship kicking off May 20th in South Carolina. All right, Jordan finishes T3, as does Xander Schauffele. Our producer Jack, shout out to Jack, found this stat: 15 majors he has been in. He has finished in the top 10 in 8 of those. Had he not fallen apart on 16, could we be talking about a different story here with Xander Schauffele? And does it feel like just a matter of time before he does win one?
Oh, without a doubt. And I love the way that he talked about number 16. He said, I was chasing. I had to be aggressive. And I think that you saw his facial expression. He knew. He said, well, it's almost like the bet you're willing to die on, right? You're just like, you know what? Like, this is the right play. The right play is to be aggressive, to go with this pin. We're on the 16th hole. It's time to give myself a real chance to be able to go and win this thing. And so I absolutely think that Xander's got the mental side of this as much as anything else to be able to break through with a major championship. He knew he could not be conservative in that spot. And so, got a little bit hung up on the wind. It was a little bit off, but man, that was also so close to being good. Felt like he had the right line. And yeah, that reaction just is everything. Says, you know what? I am willing to go down in the water with that shot, because now is the time to really show some stones. And I thought that Schauffele did a good job of executing. It's disappointing without a doubt. There's going to be a time where these great finishes at majors, if he doesn't have a win, it becomes a really frustrating narrative. And you hope he doesn't have maybe one of those, Ricky Fowler-like storylines that starts to develop. But if I'm placing bets, I do believe that Xander will be a major winner in the next 4 years.
All right, frustrating narrative. We'll see if it is here yet. Jon Rahm finishes T5. This is the second best player in the world. He's still ranked there. Still has yet to win a single major. Speaking of narratives, now has 6 top 10 finishes after the tournament. He said, it's almost like I shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? And Chip, is this now a frustrating narrative for Jon Rahm? Continues to do so.
He kind of backdoors these top 10s. He's almost become Rory-esque in the way that he is just so good that poor rounds aren't going to keep him from being able to put it together. He can't play 72 holes without being able to tap into enough of that magic to be able to end up in the top 10. And that's exactly what we saw on Sunday with him having one of the rounds of the day with that 6-under performance after shooting even par. He's got the longest active streak of rounds at or below par at the Masters. You mentioned some of these high major finishes, but I love the perspective that he has, where Amanda Balionis was asking him after the round, and he said, look, I may have these high finishes, but only once in 2018 on the back nine, sitting in the fairway, did I really have a shot to win? He knows that just because it's the little yellow box on his Wikipedia, because it's a top 10 finish, because it becomes great stats for us to use to talk about what a great golfer he is, particularly in majors. He knows that only once during all of those top finishes, he's really been right there with a chance to win, and that's what he wants. And he knows that it's a totally different game when you are playing with the lead, when you are defending the lead, when you are trying to close it out. He's backdoored his way into a lot of high finishes because he is one of the great talents in the entire world right now. But he still has another step before he even knows whether or not he can be able to close it out and win majors. I think these high finishes are more reflective of his talent than necessarily his major championship performance and ability to execute and convert leads into wins.
He turned professional back in 2016. We've been talking about him for so long. I have to remind myself, Jon Rahm is just 26 years old. It feels like he's been there forever. So young. It will come. It will come. All right, let's talk about Bryson here. Back in November at the Masters, he called it a par 67 for himself. He did finally shoot that on Friday, but ultimately finishes the tournament at T46. So what is it, Chip, about Bryson and Augusta that just do not mix?
It is the changes in elevation. It is the way that so many of those second shots are ball beneath your feet. You know, you're at a weird elevation, and anybody who plays the game knows that that is just a really tough spot to be able to maintain your balance, to be able to maintain your swing plane. And when you think about all the different algorithms and calculations that are going through Bryson's head as he's trying to fire into these greens, I think that some of those really difficult lies that you get in the fairway kind of mess with his numbers. And he was, before he took on this new body style and before he took on really chasing distance and swing speed, I mean, he was one of the top amateur golfers in the world. He was the low amateur at the Masters. He's got a lot of natural athleticism and a lot of raw golf talent that should be able to contribute to him figuring out ways to not have to lean on those numbers. I almost, for Bryson's sake, want him to let go of the formula and just try to go out and play, because he even admitted some of these changes in elevation on some of these second shots really make it difficult for him to be able to point and shoot. That's why we saw him long and left on a lot of his approach shots. He came up short. He just never was able to put himself in a position often where he was close enough to the pin to get the scores that he needs. So the chase for distance is great, but the reason why Augusta is tough on Bryson is the same reason why it's so unique, and we don't always see it on TV. It's because that is an up and down hilly golf course. It makes it very, very tough for those second shots.
That's why I like the drone shots. You can kind of finally see just how hilly it is. All right, finally, Dustin Johnson won back in November. This is the #1 golfer in the world. Misses the cut. Chip Patterson. He is still, however, the betting favorite to win the next 3 majors at +900 for each of them. So what was off for DJ Thursday and Friday, and would he be your betting favorite for the next couple majors?
He's a deserving betting favorite for the next couple majors, but he's not my bet. And that's not to say that I think anything's wrong with Dustin Johnson. He did not have the goods. Simply put, he didn't have the goods. Rory didn't have the goods. We had a Masters that was thrilling, and we were dialed into it. And the weekend didn't have DJ, Rory, Brooks, or Tiger Woods. Were notable. We were able to fill that space with Jordan Spieth, with Jon Rahm, with a lot of with Hideki, obviously making the run at the green jacket. But I think that I'm probably a little bit cautious when I look ahead to the PGA Championship, the US Open, and the Open Championship in July. Dustin Johnson, absolutely capable enough of winning it, but I am a little bit concerned that he wasn't able to rise to the top. He was my pick to win, but I would be looking at other names on this list. I would take a Rahm, I would take JT, I would absolutely be taking Spieth, and I would be taking Xander before I took Dustin Johnson when I'm looking ahead at the odds to win the PGA Championship. Again, the body of work that Dustin Johnson has put together has made him worthy of the odds makers making him the favorite. They use these calculations. It's very, very carefully done. But when you ask for my expert picks, now until we really start things at the PGA Championship, I will not be saying Dustin Johnson, even with it being in South Carolina, even with him being having a chance for a little bit of home cooking. And by the way, how frustrated do you think DJ was that he had to stick around until Sunday? I mean, he could have been on a boat. He could have been out there kicking it, and he had to stick around for the ceremony. But I'm sure he was happy to be a part of that great moment for Hideki as well.
Yes, I believe it. But yeah, it would have been nice if he could have taken off. All right, Chip Patterson, thanks so much. Download and subscribe to the First Cut podcast. Reaction, recap of the final round. Also looking ahead to what is next in the world of golf.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.